Dr. Smita George from the Department of Chemistry and Research Center, St. Albert's College, Autonomous. Today, I am going to discuss about the topic amino acids. What are amino acids? As the name indicates, amino acids are molecules which contain both amino group and acid group. Amino acids are molecules that contain both amino group and acid group. Here you can see the structure of amino acid. Here there is an amino group and a carboxyl group. They are connected through carbon or carbon with a side chain. There are a number of amino acids. One fundamental example of amino acid is glycine. That is, glycine is NH2, CH2, COH. NH2, CH2, COH. And here you can see this is an optically inactive amino acid because this carbon is an achiral carbon. It contains two hydrogen atoms. So this is an achiral carbon and this amino acid is optically inactive. But this hydrogen, one of the hydrogen is replaced with a side chain. Then that carbon becomes optically active or that carbon becomes chiral and that amino acid becomes optically active. That means except glycine, all other amino acids are optically active. All other amino acids are optically active. Okay, so amino acids are molecules that contain both amino group and carboxyl group. What is the importance of studying these amino acids? Why we are studying, or what is the importance of these amino acids? These amino acids, they are the building units of proteins. Or proteins are made up of amino acids. Here you can see the structure of insulin. Insulin is a hormone that is used by diabetic patients. And here you can see different amino acids. They are connected together in a particular fashion, forms insulin. And these are all amino acids. And amino acids, they are generally represented by a three-letter symbol. Three-letter symbol. First three letters are used to represent the amino acid. For example, in the case of glycine, it is represented as GLY. GLY, first three letter. In the case of cysteine, another amino acid, cysteine, it is represented as CYS. Okay, cysteine. So, generally, in this way, the amino acids are represented. So, this is the structure of insulin. And here you can see a number of amino acids, they are joined together in a particular fashion. And how these amino acid units are connected together? They are connected together using peptide bond. They are connected together using, or they connected each other. Each amino acid is connected with other amino acid using peptide bond. So how this peptide bond is formed? How the peptide bond is formed? And here you can see the peptide bond formation. Here this is one amino acid. This is another amino acid. This is NH2, CHR1, COH. This is NH2, CHR2, COH. So one amino acid, this is other amino acid. And this end is called N-terminus. This end, NH2 end is called N-terminus. And this COH end, that is called C-terminus. So for an amino acid, there is an N-terminus and a C-terminus. And this C-terminus contains with the N-terminus. And it leaves a molecule of water, that is OH from here, that is OH from this COH and hydrogen from this NH2. OH from this COH and hydrogen from this NH2, they together forms water and it leaves a molecule of water. And there is a formation of CONH bond. Here you can see CONH bond, and this bond, CONH bond, is called amide bond. Amide bond, CONH bond is called amide bond. But in the case of peptides or in the case of proteins, this amide bond is called peptide bond. Okay, this amide bond is called peptide bond. So, there is a formation of peptide bond. So, amino acids connected together. Amino acids are connected together using peptide bond. Okay, peptide bond. And this is an example for a dipeptide. This is a dipeptide. Okay, this is a dipeptide because here two amino acids are condensed together, forms this dipeptide. If 3 amino acids are undergo condensation, then we get a tripeptide. Okay. If 4 amino acids, then we get tetrapeptide, etc. Okay. How this tripeptide will form? Because in the case of this dipeptide, here also this C terminus is free. C terminus. This is a C terminus, and this OH again contains with the hydrogen of the N terminus, hydrogen of the NH2 or hydrogen of the N terminus of other amino acid, and it again leaves a molecule of water. Okay, that is this OH leaves with the hydrogen of other amino acid, and again it will form a peptide bond here, and then now become a tripeptide. Similarly, the end of that tripeptide again contains with the amino group of the other amino acid, then it will form a tetrapeptide. Similarly, if n number of amino acid condense, then we will get a polypeptide. Okay, if n number of amino acids are undergo condensation, then we will get a polypeptide. And this polypeptide is actually called protein. Okay, polypeptide are actually called protein. So this is schematic representation of a polypeptide. This is a long chain, and this each circle shows amino acid. This is representing, each circle represents different amino acid like cysteine, serine, etc. So these polypeptides are actually proteins. So why we are studying this amino acid? Because amino acids are the building blocks, or they are the building units of proteins. Okay. Then what are the important properties? What are the important characteristic properties of amino acids? There are different properties like physical properties, chemical properties. Physical properties include dipole moment, then their melting point in the solid state, their optical activity, etc. That includes physical properties. Then about their chemical properties, these amino acids include both NH2 group and COH group. So it can undergo both the reactions of amino group, and it can also undergo the reactions of COH group. Okay. So these are the physical and chemical properties. And other than these physical and chemical properties, very important property is, one is Switzer-ion property. Okay, Switzer-ion property. So what is Switzer-ion property? Or what is Switzer-ion? If we measure the dipole moment of an amino acid in a solution phase, the dipole moment value is found to be very large than expected, which means that in an aqueous solution, this amino acid exists in another form, not in the molecular form. This is the molecular form, that is NH2 CHR COH. This is alpha carbon. So NH2 CHR COH. This is a molecular form, and in an aqueous solution, it is not in a molecular form. It exists as an inner salt. Or it exists as a dipolar ion, or it exists as a Switzer ion, called a Switzer ion. So this is a representation of Switzer ion. That is NH3 plus CHR CO minus. That is, here you can see, here there is lone pair of nitrogen, and this lone pair will carry this acidic hydrogen. Will take this acidic hydrogen and become NH3 plus. This NH2 now become NH3 plus, and this become COOH. H will goes to this side, and this becomes CO minus. C double bond O minus, or carboxylate ion. This is a resonance form of carboxylate ion. So this is Switzer ion, that is NH3 plus CHR CO minus. This is Switzer ion, or a dipolar ion. There is a positive charge and a negative charge. So dipolar ion, or called ampholyte, or ampholyte. So in aqueous solution, this amino acid remain as this dipolar ion, and several properties. The several properties of amino acids also support this fact that they are not remain as in the molecular form. They remain in this dipolar form, or they remain as in the Switzer-ion form. Okay, so this is one important property, Switzer-ion property, and it also helps to identify or separation of amino acids. This property is very useful for the separation of amino acids. And next important property is isoelectric point. Here, this is a neutral amino acid. This is a Switzer-ionic form, that is NH3 plus CHR CO minus. This is citraniform. And if this amino acid is placed in an acidic solution or in a solution having low pH means acid. You know the pH scale. So if this amino acid is placed in a solution having low pH, that is acidic solution, what happens? What happens is this CO minus will take away this H plus, and now it becomes COH. Now it becomes COH. This CO minus now becomes COH, and now this become a cation or positively charged ion. Now this become a positively charged ion or a cation. Similarly, if this amino acid is put in an alkaline solution means it carries OH minus. If we put this amino acid in an alkaline solution or a solution having high pH, what happens? That OH minus will take away this NH hydrogen from this NH3 plus. Take this OH minus will take this hydrogen from this NH3 plus and now become NH2. This NH3 now become NH2 and it becomes CO minus. CO minus, nothing happened to this CO minus. This NH3 plus now become NH2. That is, now this as a whole now become an anion or a negatively charged ion or an anion. That is, in conclusion, amino acid in low pH solution or low pH solution or in an acidic solution, it remains as a cation or a positively charged ion, and in a high pH solution or an alkaline solution, it remains as a negatively charged ion or an anion. And in a particular pH, it remains as neutral. That is, this is called neutral. Okay, in a particular pH, it remains as neutral. That it carries one positive and one negative. That is, it remains as neutral. So, if we place this amino acid in a solution having a particular pH, and if we place electrodes and allowed to pass a current, what happens? This cation will move to the cathode and anion will move to the anode. Okay, and at a particular pH, what happens? This amino acid is not moving either to the cathode or to the anode. That means that amino acid is neutral, and that particular pH is called isoelectric point. Okay, that particular pH is called isoelectric point because that at that pH it carries no positive or no negative, or it remains as neutral. Okay, that neutral ion, that pH, corresponding pH is called isoelectric point. So at the isoelectric point, the amino acid is remaining as neutral. So this isoelectric point or this property will be helpful for the identifying each amino acid. For example, in the case of for alanine, this isoelectric point is pH 6, and for lysine, its isoelectric point is pH 9.8, which means for each amino acid, the isoelectric point is different. So that will be useful for identifying the amino acid and also for the separation of amino acids. Okay. Next one, different types of amino acids. There are different types of amino acid, or there are different classification based on different aspects. There are different classification. One is based on the position of the amino group, whether this amino group at the alpha carbon or whether it is on the beta carbon or whether it is gamma, delta, etc. So based on that, it is classified as alpha amino acid, beta amino acid, gamma amino acid, etc. Okay, alpha, beta, gamma amino acid, etc. So what is alpha carbon? Here you can see the alpha carbon. This is alpha carbon. This is COH. So with respect to COH, this carbon is called alpha carbon. With respect to this COH, this carbon is called alpha carbon. Okay. So this is an example for alpha amino acid. This is glycine. Here this is COH. So with respect to the COH, this carbon is called alpha carbon. With respect to COH, this carbon is called alpha carbon. So NH2 is attached to this alpha carbon. So this is an example for alpha amino acid. And here this is alpha carbon. So next one is beta. So NH2 is attached to this beta. NH2 is attached to beta. So this is an example for beta amino acid. This is an example for beta amino acid. Similarly here you can see, here it is gamma. This is gamma. This is alpha. This is beta. This is called gamma. And NH2 is attached to gamma carbon. So that is an example for gamma amino acid. So depending upon the position of the NH2 group, whether it is attached to alpha, whether it is attached to alpha, beta, gamma, delta, etc., it is classified as alpha, beta, gamma amino acids. So, this is an example for alpha, this is beta. These are substituted beta amino acids, substituted beta. That is, here this hydrogen is replaced with the R side chain, R group. And here also, here both the hydrogens on alpha and beta, both hydrogens are substituted by R and R dash. So, this is again a cyclic derivative. So, these are all substituted beta amino acids, and this is gamma amino acid. And one other important thing is we can distinguish these alpha, beta and gamma amino acids by simply heating these acids. We can distinguish whether it is an alpha, whether it is a beta, or whether it is a gamma. That is, if we heat gamma amino acid, what happens? If we heat gamma amino acid, what happens? It leaves a molecule of water. That is OH from here and hydrogen from here. Together, this leaves a molecule of water. And it's hydrogen from here, OH from here. It leaves a molecule of water, and that's it will form a bond connecting this NH and CO. That is, NH-CO bond will form. That is amide bond. And it becomes a cyclic ring. And this NH-CO bond, that is amide bond, now become a part of that cycle. So it is an amide. The resulting product will be an amide, but it is an internal amide, called internal amide, because that amide now become a part of the ring. Okay, internal amide. And this type of internal amide is called a lactam. Okay, lactam. So gamma amino acid on heating, the product will be a lactam. Okay, gamma amino acid on heating, it leaves a molecule of water and forms lactam. But in the case of beta amino acid, this is beta amino acid. But in the case of beta amino acid, it leaves, instead of water, here it leaves a molecule of water. Here it leaves a molecule of ammonia. That is NH2 from here and hydrogen. There is one hydrogen here. So NH2 from here, hydrogen from here. It leaves a molecule of ammonia. And there is a formation of double bond here. That is alpha beta unsaturated acid. Alpha beta now become alpha beta. There is one bond. So double bond. Now it becomes alpha beta. C double bond O OH. Okay, alpha beta unsaturated acid will be the product in the case of beta amino acid. In the case of gamma amino acid, lactam. Lactam is a product. In the case of beta amino acid, it leaves a molecule of NH3 and it forms alpha beta unsaturated acid. And in the case of, what about in the case of alpha amino acid? In the case of alpha amino acid, the thing is different. That is, in the case of alpha amino acid, here only one molecule is participating in the reaction. From the molecule itself, it leaves a molecule of water or it leaves a molecule of ammonia. But in the case of alpha amino acid, two amino acids are condense together. Okay, two alpha amino acids condense together, and it leaves two molecules of water. Not one molecule of water, it leaves two molecules of water, and it forms a cyclic product. Okay, it forms a cyclic product, that is NHCHR CO. Here again CHR NH. Here CO. Here there is one bond. That is hydrogen from here. Always condensation happens with the NH2 and COH. Okay, reaction happens with the NH2 and COH. So hydrogen from here and OH from the COH. Okay, OH from the other COH of the other amino acid. Okay, hydrogen from here and OH from the other OH from the COH of other amino acid. So they leaves as water and it forms an NHCO bond. So this is that NHCO bond, and again the remaining is CHR, then CO. Similarly, other amino acids, this OH and the hydrogen from the NH2 of other amino acids, it leaves as water. Okay, so remaining is NHCHR. So this is two amino acids. Actually, this is two amino acids. This is one amino acid. This is other amino acid. And for each amino acid, OH and hydrogen is gone. Here OH from here and hydrogen from here gone. Similarly, here also OH from here and hydrogen from here gone. Okay, two molecules of water losses, and it forms 2,5-diketopiperazine. This is first position. This is second position. This is third one, fourth one, fifth one. This is the fifth one. So, okay, this This is 1, this is 2, this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. So 2, 5. At the second position and the fifth position, there is a keto group. So this is called 2,5-diketopiperazine. This is a heterocyclic compound, 2,5-diketopiperazine. So in the case of gamma amino acid, the product is a lactam. In the case of beta amino acid, product is an alpha beta unsaturated acid. And in the case of alpha amino acid, the product is a 2,5-diketopiperazine. So in this way, we can distinguish whether the given acid is alpha, beta or gamma. Okay. One other type of classification is depending upon the acidity. Okay. Depending upon the acidity or depending upon basicity. Okay. Or depending upon the side chain property. Side chain property, we can classify amino acid as acidic, basic, neutral or polar, non-polar, etc. Okay. So depending upon the acidic character, that type of character, or depending upon the side chain property, the amino acids are classified as acidic, basic, etc. So acidic amino acid, this is acidic amino acid. Acidic amino acid simple definition is, in the case of acidic amino acid, it contains more number of, that is 2 or more, it contains 2 or more COH groups. Okay, 2 or more COH groups. That is 1 COH and 1 NH2 is already there. 1 NH2 and 1 COH is already there. So if it contains, here in this case, 1 NH2. In all the cases, 1 NH2 and 1 COH or 1 NH3 plus and 1 CO minus is there. So besides that, here you can see 1 CO minus or 1 COH. That means it is acidic. Here in this case, you can see besides this, it can have an extra NH2 or NH3 plus. That means that is basic. So in the case of acidic, it contains 2 or more COH groups. In the case of basic, it contains 2 or more NH2 groups. In the case of neutral, it contains equal number of acidic COH or equal number of COH and NH2 groups. And other thing is polar and non-polar. That is, polar means in this case, these type of amino acids contain polar functionalities. Polar functional groups like OH. If it contains polar functional groups like OH in the side chain, that become a polar amino acid. And this is a non-polar or a hydrophobic or non-polar amino acid. In that case, the side chain contains the chain alkyl group. Okay, if the side chain contains alkyl chains, then that become a non-polar or a hydrophobic amino acid. So this is also another classification, that is acidic, basic, polar, non-polar, etc. Okay. Then one last classification is essential and non-essential amino acid. Essential and non-essential amino acid. That is, it is based on the necessity to man. Based on the necessity to man, it is classified. Amino acids are classified as essential and non-essential amino acid. That is, there are a number of amino acids, but among that, 20 amino acids are essential, or the 20 amino acids are needed for the proper growth or proper functioning of the body. Okay, 20 amino acids are needed for the proper functioning of the body. And among these 20 amino acids, for an adult, in the case of an adult, 9 amino acids are found to be essential, categorized into essential and non-essential. 9 amino acids are categorized into essential, and the remaining 11 are classified as, or remaining 11 are called non-essential amino acids. Okay, 9 amino acids are called essential amino acids. These are the 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. These 9 amino acids are essential and the remaining 11 amino acids are non-essential amino acids. Why? Because essential and non-essential, the name. In the case of essential amino acids, these 9 amino acids, it cannot be synthesized within the body. It cannot be synthesized within the body. So it must be supplied into the body through food. Okay, it must be supplied into the body through food. It cannot be synthesized in the body, but it is necessary for the proper functioning of the body. That is why it is called essential amino acid. And non-essential amino acid, the name is because of the fact that it can be synthesized in the body. It can be synthesized in the body from the materials that is available from the food. Okay, that is materials available from the food. It can be synthesized. These amino acids can be synthesized within the body. So that is why it is called a non-essential amino acids. Okay, non-essential amino acids. These amino acids can be synthesized within the body, but in the case of essential amino acid, it cannot be synthesized in the body. That must be supplied, or that must be given into the body through proper diet. Okay, so that's all about the introduction of introduction to amino acids. Hope we can see in the next class. Thank you.